Good afternoon and welcome back to Seamless Philippines Virtual. My name is Kathleen as your host. So before I introduce our next session, just a reminder to everyone to be involved in the conversation. If you're watching on your computer, kindly look at the right side and you will see the live discussion area where you can chat your questions to our speakers. And if you're watching on your mobile device, then the live discussion area is just underneath. Delighted to welcome this session titled Building Your Marketing Tech Stack. Hear from our esteemed speakers, starting with Anthony Guanzon. He is the Deputy CMO of Malayan Insurance. Stephanie Lauren Liban, Social Media and Content Head for Smart Communications. And Rafaela Lamotan, Regional Social Content Strategist of Carousel. And this session will be moderated by Mags Salvador. Over to you, Mags.
Thanks, Kathleen. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to E-commerce Marketing Channel. Just to give a brief overview of the panel discussion for this session, we are going to hear insights about building your marketing tech stack for a seamless customer experience. Knowing that we have expanding customer touchpoints, we also hope to learn from our panelists the different ways to create a customer-focused marketing tech approach. If the technology has benefited their businesses and if it actually creates value for both their customers and the business. The focus of marketing technologies is to make difficult processes easier, measure the impact of online and offline marketing activities, and drive more efficient spending along the way. This will give you an advantage over your competitors. So let's meet our panelists for today as they share with us a brief introduction of their business and how they built their marketing tech stack. Maybe we can start with Rafa, Steph, and Anthony.
Yeah, hello everyone. So my name is Rafa. I'm a social strategist and a regional social strategist in Carousel, Philippines, Malaysia, Singapore, Taiwan, Indonesia, and Malaysia too. So I'm really excited to meet you guys and excited also to talk about like how we built our marketing tech stack. How do we even get our users down the funnel? So that's what we always think about when it comes to marketing. So yeah.
Thanks, Rafa. Steph?
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Steph, and I'm from Smart Communications, leading the social media and content and community team for Smart. So, just a brief background on what we do when considering the marketing stack. It really starts with understanding first the journey of the customers, building from there, and then picking a tool for every touch point for each customer, and then, analyzing those insights available.
Thank you. Anthony?
Thanks, Steph. Thanks, Rafa. Okay, so I'm Anthony, and I'm heading the integrated marketing and communications for Malayan Insurance. I actually started with Malayan on the digital marketing, the e-commerce, and the partnerships, which at least today it's already linking how you can get digital partners and link it to your other digital roadmaps in your company. So hopefully I'm able to share with you both the theoretical framework of how to set up a marketing stack for your company, and also real life challenges in terms of merging legacy systems with these new technology today.
All right, great. So maybe we can start with a discussion. So during the pandemic, we saw that there was an increase in online transactions. And even now, when we are well into the recovery stage, it is still increasing. Can you share with us some of the tools or the functions that can enable hyper-personalized, on-demand, and omni-channel customer journeys? Maybe you want to start, Rafa?
Yeah, I think for Carousel, actually during the pandemic, we really saw people being more resourceful online. So as Carousel is a marketplace where anyone can buy and sell, we immediately wanted to be present with the consumers as they started thinking about what to sell. So we saw that when we were doing a lot of research on what is the right marketing campaign to actually come out with during the pandemic, we saw that a lot of people lost their jobs during the peak of the COVID period. And we were thinking that, oh, actually, what is the best way to get people to sell? So I think unlike other e-commerce, which gets people to buy, Carousel always tries to go for the opposite message, which is to get people to sell. So we were thinking about like, how are we going to gather data to really think about what's the best way to approach the market? So I think there's a lot of things that we can automate versus things that we cannot. So for C is getting actual research from your users, getting to understand like what are their pain points, and then trying to see if trying to see also the online market on what they're experiencing. So from an offline standpoint, we try to get as much research offline and then try to translate it to an online like campaign. So how we were able to get data around that, I think it's really using a lot of our channels and Carousel. So for example, from the lead gens, like why is our lead generation going down? Like why can't we get more sellers online? So we try to like actually send out forums or send out like forms to get people to send their feedback to us on what inspires them to sell, what does inspire them to sell. And then after that, we also used our own in-app channels to get that data. And then once we're able to get a mix of like external data and internal data, we're able to come up with a campaign for that. So I think it's always a mix of those two things, both getting offline and also online, because sometimes online can give you the quantity, but offline can also give you the quality of responses. So yeah, that's how we always build our marketing campaigns in Carousel, I would say. Yeah.
Great. Anything you want to add, Steph or Anthony?
Yeah, I just wanted to add also during the pandemic, one of the things we did very much for Smart is really invest in a lot of listening to what the people are saying online, checking the kind of behavior, the new customer behaviors that are being formed during that drastic change during the pandemic, right? So once you understand what they're talking about, what they're looking for, how they are buying things, that's when we create content that would surround it. I mean, during that time, we also released a lot of advisories and helpful information to change the traditional behavior of buying telco products, right? So after understanding that, we form the content, then we track each of the events in our systems, in our platforms. You should make use of a lot of event tracking tools that will track conversions. And then if you have those heat mapping tools, which are very cool and actually fun to use, and there are actually new software right now that are investing a lot on eye gazing and eye tracking. And that's also nice to see in how they are making use of their website, because the information, you really have to get that right out of them, to them, deliver it to them immediately as at the top of your website and the quickest way possible. And after that, build the campaign or you deliver the content. So that's where your CMSs and marketing automation tools come into play. And then you listen once again. How do they respond to your campaign, your content? Do they like more of it? Do they need more of it? Do they look for something else? So that's where listening really comes into play and keeping that your ear to the ground all the time.
Agree. Understanding your customers is first for building your content. Yes. Thanks, Steph. Anthony?
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna defer from what Steph and Rafa said already. They shared a lot in terms of details, like going down into the top of the funnel, the middle of the funnel, and everything. So I'll probably share, since you asked more on the tools, I'll probably share on specifically on the steps of setting it up, which ties up. Then I'll focus on the tools probably in the market. So I probably trim the steps into 6. I think that's the best way I can trim it. 6 steps. Essentially, I'm sure most companies today, you already have an existing inventory of marketing technology that you may not necessarily be aware of, but they are marketing tech. And where ideally you start with reviewing your current inventory to avoid maybe redundancy. Also, when you're selecting new tools, you want to make sure everything's compatible, at least for the most part. Then next step would be your objective or the business objective itself. Why are you getting the technology? What do you want to achieve at the end of the day? Is it really, well, most companies actually use customer experience as a differentiator nowadays, because everybody's pretty much offering the same thing. and customer service is a differentiator at this point. So second step is really identifying your objective for these tools and for the business, of course. Next would be your budget. So we're always working within a budget for these tools. Even after you've purchased your platform, there's still added costs there to top it up, even servicing fee, all those. So you have to consider your budget just so it's more cost efficient for everybody. And number 4 is, of course, you have to research on the solutions. And key questions that I would normally ask, or we would normally ask as marketers is the tool we're looking at, does it really do what it's supposed to do? Does it stack well with others in terms of compatibility? How much is it? Of course. Is it scalable? The moment my business grows, is it scalable along with my business? Or do I need that big of a platform to support if I'm an MSME, I'm an SME, or I'm a startup? Next would be customer service. I mean, in terms of the platform, how is their customer service? Because definitely we don't know how to use it yet immediately, which ties up to how easy is the tool to use. Is it customer friendly? Our tech team, the marketing team who's actually going to use it, will they have enough time to learn how to use the tool? And that's mainly it in terms of the 4th step. Moving into the 5th and 6th, it's basically choosing the tool, then implementation. The implementation part, I'm sure Steph, Rafa, and even the more tech-savvy companies, you have much challenges when it comes to integration. And such companies that are more traditional, going into a more modern approach in terms of the back end, we have there's definitely a challenge for integration. So this is where, from the start of all this, you're supposed to at least get the stakeholder in. Has to be a top-down direction from upper management. And finally, once you have all of these 6 items in, it's where you need to close the loop, the reporting loop, because all of these tools are actually needed by sales and marketing. So it's the reporting loop to see all those data closing in for sales and marketing, so they can actually use all of these tools, and it does enhance the business. And like I said, marketing tools are just tools to enhance. So it shouldn't disrupt. Ideally, it shouldn't disrupt your business foundation. Then I don't know if I'm talking too much, but going into the tools here, like I said, you may not be aware that you already have existing marketing tech tools in your company. But if you want to zero it out, or at least want to organize how you want to look at the tools, you can start with Attract, Convert, Nurture, Closing, and Analytics. By simply typing those items in Google, with adding the word marketing technology, a stream of different marketing technology tools will come up. These could be from Google Ads, from the Salesforce, the Active Campaigns, all of these common or popular tools in the market. And you just have to make sure that it's stacking well with that. I've said Attract, Convert, Nurture, Sales, or the conversion, and Analytics, which in other companies you'd probably call it, like Rafa said, it's basically the top of the funnel, the middle of the funnel, and the end of the funnel or so. But hopefully that's clear.
Yes, very. At least very easy very early in the discussion. I already know like the steps that each brand or business should take for them to be able to effectively, start their own marketing technology strategies. So, having said that, so we're learning a lot today. Business decisions, yes, we understand, are now data-driven. How important are data and analytics tools for your business, and why do you think companies should invest in them? Rafa?
Yeah, sure. Actually, I think without data, we cannot make well-informed decisions. I think this goes not just to our work, but also in our daily lives. So I always treat data as our best friend. Like in any marketing position, I think people don't realize how heavy actually it is when it comes to looking at the data and understanding how these metrics funnel to like different consumer actions. So I feel like it's really critical to have them, because if we don't, then we'd always just be creating aimlessly. So for example, right, when it comes to target audience, I think Anthony was talking a lot about how it's difficult to do integration with different channels. And I do agree that whenever you look at different channels, it's important to understand how the data relates to each other, how it funnels correctly, because there's so many ways to get data and customer profiles, but it's really important for it to funnel in smoothly so that you can really understand like your targets. So I feel like without data, you cannot really prove success of like your campaigns. You can't really understand when it's the right time to increase your budget or even to lower your budget. So all of these things are really helpful as you optimize and really grow your business. So without it, I don't think you can grow anything actually. So
Agree. Yes.
Allow me to add to that, Mags. Definitely, analytics and data are important for any business nowadays, especially that a lot of people are moving towards digital platforms. But aside from that, we already agree, everyone agrees that those are important. It will help you understand where your customers are, how are they behaving, etc., and what they do on those touch points. But I think aside from that, what's important also is that you also have a team that is comfortable making, inferring, putting insights together, inferring, and then putting action together quickly. So there are most of the times that there are times that we see that we have a lot of data. There's a surge of data coming in, and yet people, sometimes insights are not actionable. We can't just, there should always be a balance between the data you have from your tools and then your own knowledge of the culture, because there will be different nuances depending on the culture of your target market and or your business. So it's important that you are aware of what's happening right now in your business and how it affects the culture you have of the people, of your customers, and the people surrounding you. So it's always that balance that makes a big difference when it comes to handling those tools and analytics.
All right. Thanks, Steph. Do you have anything to add on to that, Anthony?
Yeah, actually, it's just basically agreeing with everybody that data is extremely important. And actually, I don't know if it was mentioned earlier, but there was a time, or at least a few years back, even up to today, that attention is very much it's just a commodity already, given why we've transitioned design thinking, UX, UI, all those, because it's seen as a commodity. And today, with the abundance of data, I think credibility is also a commodity that's trying to rise up along with the attention thing. So today, at least, with the abundance of data now and access to information, internet and everything, what's lacking is really attention focus and really seeing things clearer. So definitely, as data is very important. And I think these tools will really address the challenges we have with the abundance of data to see it more efficiently and to act on it more efficiently, which, like, I mean, most of us are guilty of analysis paralysis. But the beauty of marketing technology is we're able to see that data clearer if done correctly, and we're able to act on it faster if we have the right marketing stack in place. So either real time or immediately. So just add something I'll add in. But yeah.
Yeah, so really it's important. So data first. Well, for your marketing initiatives, do you need to take a different approach for like B2B marketing versus a B2C marketing from a technology perspective?
I could start.
You can start,
Wait.
Anthony, please.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, on a B2B and B2C marketing, I guess generally first, B2C, it's basically direct to consumer. So it's an easier approach for us. It's basically determining the touch points and going back to the framework itself of your objective and how the tools fit in. But it's basically direct to consumer. Now, B2B, it's more of understanding who your customer is. Is it your partner or is it their customer through the partner? So for example, this is just an example for insurance, maybe, since that's where I am. My partner would differ if it's bank assurance or if it's agents. So if it's agents and I'm trying to maybe create a flow that's more efficient for them, more seamless for them, my customers would probably be the agents, and how I could, with the tools, how I could help them renew clients, how I could help them make their selling easier. So at the end of the day, my objective is for us to be the preferred insurance company they work with and they push their clients, because the moment they get the policy in, because we still need, I mean, the thing about marketing technology is it's just a tool. We still need the human intervention coming in. And a lot of, especially in the Philippines, a lot of people still prefer that live engagement rather than talking to a voice bot, a chat bot. Some still prefer that sense of personal touch. So the agents, we definitely need them, but how do we get them to push our brand versus others? And that's where the marketing technology comes in, by making it seamless. They sell a new policy and everything is pretty much automated. Ideally, after the renewals automated, all they have to do is just sell, 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 and let the system work for them moving forward. So that's a very ideal setup, but that's just a raw example of maybe a B2B to C approach. But hope that helps.
Yes, of course. And Smart also has a lot of B2B clients,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, so allow me to talk more about that, Marga. But yes, for B2B versus B2C marketing, you don't necessarily have to have a unique set of tools that are different. On a high level view, for those consumers, you really have to have a tracking software available. So you already have set that aside. But first, I would recommend that you take a step back and get your basics covered first. Like understand your customers' behavior first and their needs. Like, for example, if it's a B2B approach, they would actually build on thought leadership content. They will be heavy on reviews and credibility of your business. So that's where you should focus on as well. And then you build the tools, get tools that will support you in that goal. And then whereas alternatively for B2C, you know, uh, what we saw is that our B2C, our consumers are really, especially during the pandemic, they're really looking for value. The cart is essential. That is what you should be watching for B2C. Whereas in B2B, it's not necessarily a cart. You're not dealing with a cart. So it's really a different touch point in that you really have those tracking softwares in place. You should have them on place. But again, I would really suggest that you get your basics covered first. Take a step back, understand what it is these your consumers, the consumers you're talking to, whether it's a business or a consumer, what do they need first, and how your tools can solve that before getting those on board.
Okay, thanks, Steph. Rafa.
Yeah, and I think for Carousel, we're a bit unique in this aspect since we are a C2C platform. So that means anyone can be a buyer or seller. So like maybe Steph and Anthony, they're gonna be transacting and buying an item. So that's like our main business. We don't really work with a lot of like bigger businesses but we are in the future. So that's like a sneak peek into Carousel. But yeah, like that we're a C2C business. But again, like I think the tools that maybe B2C marketers or B2B marketers use are exactly the same as what we use also. It's just that it really adjusts depending on your target audience and what touch points you want to target them at. So again, like echoing what Steph said, there's really no need to have different tools, but it's just important to understand who they are, their touch points, and where to get them and how to track it also.
Great, agree. So having said that there's not much difference, the tools are there for really the marketing team to be efficient also in analyzing the data. Well, sometimes it's a bit challenging getting the buy-in for technology spending. So how can you demonstrate the importance of a solid marketing tech stack to the budget holders?
Oh, I could start this one
Yes,
if you
Steph.
want. Buy-in, it's really well, first, I would recommend that you have a team that would really champion your tool or any tools or a package of tools that you want to showcase to the budget holders and stakeholders. And then get those numbers, get those results, present a lot of case studies and how it can help solve the current gaps or issues in the company, and how it can actually promote cost savings for the company. That is always something ideal and something they would want to hear more about. First, are you going to improve the journey of our customers? In short, how are you going to meet the targets for your business? And then showing how you could also save during that, making the whole journey more efficient, faster, and automated. There's a lot of opportunity there, but it also starts with, of course, understanding the tool first, getting those tests done, and then showing those case studies and showing the numbers ultimately.
All right, thanks. What about you, Rafa?
Yeah, I think exactly that. It's really important to show the payoff and really test a lot of different tools. So it's important to not just test one tool. So for example, if you're gonna maybe replace one tool that you want, you have to like test 3 or even 4. So they're gonna be asking you to like build case studies around that, like on the budgets. I think the budget's a big thing, but also like the capabilities of each tool and what are the trade-offs, what are the pros and cons between each. So I think that's really the big thing. They're always just gonna ask you for how this will really improve X% of your target from a baseline that you currently have. So as long as it's manageable and reasonable, I don't think you'll have any challenges with regards to that. It's really just putting your case together. So I think a tip that I have, I guess, when talking to big bosses, it's really important to speak their language. So for example, like what I do is that, oh, replacing this will help us save money so that we don't have to spend so much in getting more and more users, because we have like this new retention tool that saves like X% of users each year. So it's really important to understand where they're coming from. I mean, all they really want is to save their budgets wisely and have a better use of their budget. So having case studies in place will just help you for that. But I think it's very easy. I wouldn't say very easy, but it's very easy to prove your case, especially if you know the things that you're looking for when you're looking for a new tool.
Yeah, agree. Efficient spending. Anthony, would you like to add on? Or you're the one approving the budget already?
It's hmm. Well, I'll try to add to that, because definitely all points were taken. Making a business case, doing your testing, of course, getting the buy-in. But I think the biggest factor, much like when you're driving customer experience and digital transformation, I mean, it's amazing how everything just basically crosses nowadays. Even marketing technology crosses to customer experience and digital transformation. But the key, really, especially for traditional companies or even companies that are starting to transition to that more modern approach, the key, and even for us, is really it's top driven. If the direction is really coming from your CEO and all the chief officers are pretty much on board, definitely it's difficult. But if it's coming from the CEO top down, it's really going to move as much as possible. The business cases, yes, we want that, but sometimes we also get stuck there. But if it's a top-down direction, one way or another, it's gonna get there, because we all know that these investments are really about future proofing, and I'm trying to fix it in my head. But in terms of for the marketing team, specifically for marketing stack, we really have to put in the perspectives of the different stakeholders, especially since it is a top-down direction. We still have to put in the perspective of IT, sales, finance, moving forward. But my 2 cents worth is it's really it's really driven from top management, and definitely from my company, from Malayan Insurance, we are heavily driven from CEO level to drive this digital transformation, which makes it easier for us in terms of getting the approvals. But implementation, integration, even selecting the tools, that's another challenge. But as long as you get that direction from top management, it's a matter of how soon you can implement and execute it. So that's key, definitely.
Okay. Thanks, Anthony. And I think it was also mentioned a little earlier that is it possible to seamlessly implement new technologies alongside legacy tools? And would you mind sharing like the challenges and how were you able to overcome it?
I think I
Can-
should start here, given that
Yes.
we're on the legacy side. Okay. Um,
Thank you.
okay. Definitely, it's possible, and not just for us, but a lot of companies are having this challenge. Uh, Bluntly, there's still a level of human intervention needed to run it. Um, in terms of how we work around it, I'll try to give it as generic and as raw as possible. There's still process or operational changes that we do. We call it manual matic for the most part. The front end may be digital for our customers. The back end may still have a portion of human intervention. But the key here is digital transformation, or even implementing these items. It's not something that happens overnight. You can't cold turkey the business or 360 overnight change, because it's a change that you don't also want to rock your current foundation, the current business foundation, and it's there to enhance, not really to change anything. So my take is also it's steps we take to it's rather than a 360 approach to implement this. It's really steps that the company is taking today, and from those steps, we don't really rock the boat as much as marketing. We do have to rock the boat objectively, but it's with calculated risks, and that's what we're trying to do as long as we go through these changes. At least for the bigger changes, the companies going through bigger changes. And the nice thing about first movers and those who follow second is we can see first movers in the industry, or even outside the industry, because everything's crossing now. I mean, we want to go retail, we want to go. Everybody's taking in best practices from different industries. So the nice thing about having first movers is we can definitely look at their challenges, and we can learn from their pitfalls and make our next steps more efficient for us. So I think in terms of the question, how can you seamlessly implement technology along legacy tools? You need human intervention, whatever happens along the way. And it's just as long as you focus on your customer experience front end, that's more important right now, because it's a more visible, that's more visible, or that's more visual for your customer and your brand. Hope that was clear.
Yeah, it is clear. It will definitely help if all the new tools will complement and make it more efficient for the team using the legacy tools. Anything you want to add on, Steph?
Oh yeah, sure.
Thank you.
When it comes to, bringing those tools onto the legacy tools, it is the short answer to that would really be phasing the implementation, slowly. But surely, that's the short answer. But I think the more important thing that you have to understand really there when onboarding tools is, again, taking that step back and understanding how this tool will help you reach your goals as a company for the year. So, are you supposed to be building awareness right now? So, how will it help solve that problem? And then next, one hurdle I would also recommend that to be handled is actually skills matching. Understanding if you have the team or the people with the necessary skill sets who can handle the tools. Because if they're not ready and you have your tool on board, I mean, you wouldn't be able to use that tool anyway and maximize the results, right? So it's really training your team first, or matching that tool with the existing team if you have them first before onboarding the tool, and then empower them to lead that transition towards the company. You could start small with your group first, then show the results, and then that's just going to spread throughout the company. Your results will be very contagious once it's really positive. But if it doesn't work, you try the same approach. You start from the top. How it is we where did we miss out on? How did this tool? How could we pivot the tool? And that's the beauty of having these tools online. You could get the decisions and the data right away, and then you can act and pivot fast if needed. So that's actually how you could seamlessly blend those tools into your systems right away.
Thanks, Steph.
Yeah, and maybe I can add on. I think so. Anthony and Steph really touched upon this really well already, but I guess it's really when adopting new technologies, the only thing that really matters is how your customers are affected. As much as possible, if we do these changes on the back end, they won't feel anything on the front end. Like we don't want to get any complaints as much as possible. We really want it to be seamless. So I think when modernizing technology stacks, it can be detrimental at the first part, especially on the working team, because you always have to look at it manually. Again, like having the human involved to understand like how to match the data and how the tools align with each other is very important. But I think in the long run, I think you always should look at the long run too, that eventually like this payoff will really pay dividends in the future for you guys. So I think it's just really trying to put the customer at first whenever you do something, and really looking at the payoffs that it will do from long run to short run too.
Great. Thanks, Rafa. So we're now receiving questions from the audience. So first off, can each of you share, if possible, if there had been tools or initiatives you'd rolled out but failed, or you had to pivot away from? What were the pain points, challenges, and insurmountable roadblocks, and how did you bounce back? So any one of you can start, please.
Okay. I get start.
Thanks.
Yeah, essentially, it's if we've had tools that we had to pivot back or okay, so probably it's more of more often than not, these tools in the market kind of work similarly with the others. And where they differ more often than not, maybe it could be on in terms of compatibility, in terms of scalability, or the fit for your current tools, or the fit for your business direction. But an instance that I could possibly give in the most generic of ways is it's first for us. Luckily, it's we had to understand the tool and its capabilities further, because as maybe it's a challenge that we have is when we look into marketing tools, we see it very shallow. Like, I just want to get in email marketing and I want to automate this aspect. We forget to look into the compatibility in terms of the deeper functionality, etc. And we could get the best tool in the market, the best CRM in the market, but if it's not something that we can utilize at the moment, it may not be the best option. For in terms of pivoting, we've had I can say that one, I guess, a positive example would be we understood the functionality better. We were able to get the capabilities further, and the tool was actually effective and useful. But during the first stage of using the tool and utilization, we definitely could not value it much. We thought it was just this tool that could deliver basically in terms of email marketing, SMS, so on. But understanding it further allowed us to value it more. So definitely one is to understanding it. We didn't have to pivot. One other example in terms of where we did a full pivot is the tool was just too big, and it was not too it wasn't a fit then. It did not cater to the right audience at the moment. But that is a tool that's worth looking at for most companies. It just wasn't a fit for that time. So pivot wise, I mean, you just have to. It's still testing for marketing technology. It's still testing for companies. It's not a one size fit all. So yeah.
But normally, how long would that take? Like, for example, a tool, can you give like in 6 months, if it's not working, then we change, we plan, we test another tool? Because normally that's one of the challenges. Like, how long will you be testing a certain tool for it to become, effective for the team or for the brand?
Depends on the tool's functionality, but what most companies now, before they try to lock you in, right, or they try to give you POCs to start with. I guess POCs are a good way to start. That's one. And they always have this pitch that you can't see its value until you run it for about a month or so. I mean, 12 months or so, that when you can fully see its value. I'd say maybe a POC would help. A free POC. More often than not, they offer this already. Or maybe 6 months in.
6 months in, yeah. Okay, Steph, would you like to share some challenges and when you had to pivot away from the existing tool that you're using?
Yeah, for Smart, I think everyone would not, I mean, you wouldn't be surprised of how often we have to pivot actually. Every time that we release a product, that's actually us also adjusting to the needs of the customers, and it's a result of what we hear from our tools and even on the ground by talking to our customers. So change is actually common, but one good thing that it actually provided us is one, helping us realize that the old tools that we were using pre-pandemic would no longer be working. The old tools and old methods were no longer working. That was really a crucial time for us to pivot fast, not just change overnight, but really fast. And then there are a lot of times that we onboarded tools and then realize that the how it matches with our current other analytics are not actually in sync. So that's one thing you have to discover too, how your APIs talk to each other, how they match your current platforms, because you wouldn't want to change all your platforms in a single day or in a single quarter. That's going to be really difficult to do. But it's really the pain and points and challenges, it's the same way. You will have to go from, finding that tool, having it approved, testing it, onboarding it, and then using it, and then training your team to use it, and then, getting those insights already. Bouncing back is just the same. You have there's actually no cool down time to bounce back. You just have to bounce back, stand up right away, find the other tool or find the gaps where it's not working, and then fix it. And then I would like to echo what Anthony said earlier, the importance of negotiation with your partner, your tools, the partners offering the tools. It's really important to negotiate really well and hard for the deals you have for your tools. Because if it doesn't work, I mean, they would always present case studies during the pitch. But when it's on ground, if it doesn't match your environment or the APIs you have or the tools you have, then they would have to step in and help you make it work, or you'll have to make that hard decision to really let it go. So it's a matter of negotiating well with them. But yeah, so that's common, those changes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hi.
and I think to jump on like to what Steph said, right? Like for example, Smart, you guys change a lot. I think for Carousel also, we do change. I think almost every year, or just trying to improve the same tool also. So it's not necessarily like replacing a tool for another, but trying to improve the tool in itself also. Because actually, Carousel only started 10 years ago. For Philippines, it's even shorter, like maybe 5 years. So we're still a relatively small company, a strong and small company that keeps on trying to grow. And in order to grow, we still need to keep on pivoting to find the right tools to match our objectives. Because each year we want to be bigger, and sometimes like the current capabilities that a tool has can't do that for us, and we need to pivot immediately. So I think whenever you're trying to change a tool, it's always important to know again the payoffs between using one tool or staying with the same tool but getting X amount of results. And that's something that your business can align with you guys and understand the payoff. So it's just important to know that. But I think a big pain point, I would say, from pivoting is understanding how to migrate from one system to another. I felt like I did a lot of this in the past few years, and sometimes it's very frustrating because the data doesn't match and you have to be the one to do it yourself and to keep on testing the tools as much as possible. And I think that's an important one, because in order to do that, you also need a very strong partner in the service provider or the tool provider. So it's important to have like an after sales service, because there really be a lot of humps and they can't expect you to have it like fully operational by then. So again, like it's really important to have a strong partner, a strong team, and also like keep on training each other to manage the data and test the data. So
Yeah, so I think we can really assess the effectiveness of a marketing tech stack, by testing, experimenting, and of course, being open to changes, because it's the only thing that's constant. Where we also have another question. It's evident that companies are aware of the new tech being used for marketing. This is why I observe that most marketing experts are younger looking, yes, and technology driven. What strategies have worked out for you? On the digital side, what channels work best for you? Maybe you want to start, Steph?
Yeah, I'd love to take this on. Um, For the strategies, it's really providing products and delivering to those products to them as quickly as possible. Getting to the channel, it's understanding what channel really works for your customers. Like for example, in Smart, we have different brands. We have the postpaid, we have the prepaid, and then we also have broadband. So each of those have different kinds of needs and customers, but it's really getting the message out there. So with your tools, you would have to understand what channels do they stay in, and even what time are they most active? What kind of tone or post do they respond well to? Because that's going to help you create that campaign and create that post that will resonate with them. Because aside from, if you're just putting the content out there aimlessly, it's not going to reach them. They're not going to convert. They're not going to take action. And then on the digital side, on the second question, what channels work best for us? One of the huge channels that really did a lot of help for the company is really the social media channels, which is actually different from before. Pre-pandemic, we were really reliant on retail on ground and of course broadcast TV. Right now, digital channels, the social media channels, it's really taking flight. And we see a lot of reactions and interactions there, and we are converting more, actually a lot also there in those channels. So there, that's what has been working for Smart.
Thanks, Steph. What about for Carousel?
Yeah, I think for carousel side, a lot of our strategies really are implemented at the start. Oh, sorry, Rita. Can you guys hear me? Sorry. Yes. Okay. So I think for carousel, we do a lot of like research first before we even try to implement a strategy. And just like what Steph said, like it really depends on the different products that you have, the different like KPIs that you're looking at and how you're going to build your marketing plan for that. So I feel like on the strategy wise, it's really important first to understand the problem that you want to solve. And then after that, you can think about like the best way to target this audience, what messaging to go there. But again, it really involves a lot of research, understanding your audience inside the app. So for example, Carousel speaking, I look at the audience inside the app, but I also look at the external audience. So outside the app, seeing how to bridge those together, how to retain the audience, but also how to get more audiences inside our app. So I think it's really understanding first the problem so you can build your strategy. But I think a big strategy that worked for us in getting more audiences to be aware of Carousel is really on social media also. So for example, right, we know that Gen Zs are the biggest audience today. They're like the consumers of tomorrow and the future also. So what we wanted to do was actually target Gen Zs and look at where they are. So we tried actually using another social channel called TikTok this year. I know TikTok is a very popular app that kind of like skyrocketed during the pandemic. I would say before, I think TikTok didn't have this presence in Philippines, but it's so big right now that it's a very important channel for us to be present at. So on the digital side, actually having a strong social voice can really be helpful in being relevant to the consumers on an everyday basis, because sometimes Carousel, we do have big marketing campaigns, but you'd only hear it from us from big spikes. But we always want to be present on the consumers every day. So we try to be present on the social also by having a content calendar, understanding who are the audiences that you want to talk to and building content around that. So I think social media is a very great tool and it's something easily accessible. You don't need expensive tools in order to succeed in social. You just need a strong team and a strong content strategy too.
Thanks, Rafa. Well, very well said. Would you like to add on to that, Anthony?
Well, they've pretty much mentioned everything, like knowing the channel, knowing understanding your audience. Strategy wise, I mean, I'm sure everybody in terms of at least the bare basic for marketing, you you have your own strategies essentially. I think it just jumps back to the framework of definitely what was mentioned earlier, like how do you test the effectiveness of your marketing stack, analytics and metrics, your objective. Just going back to that, it's basically your objective is basically your guide for everything, and you from there you'd actually know already which channels work best for you, understanding your market. It's very, at least I don't want to say it, but it's pretty much boxed what you have to do on a framework level. So strategy wise, it's never like they said, it's never one size fit all. It's you just have to understand your top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, if I could simplify it best, your top of the funnel, your middle of the funnel, where is your pain point? Because you can have the best attract level or awareness level. We haven't jumped into, or we're not jumping into ad tech, but essentially you can have the best traffic or even quality traffic driven to your top of the funnel. But if your challenge is the middle of the funnel, which is the customer journey once you get them,
Yeah.
or possibly converting them there, the options, etc., it's not going to work out. I we can't be perfect. It's not going to be ideal, but at least it has to be the bare minimum of expectation, comparing it to the market, especially how fast customer expectation and demand is consistently changing every day. So bare
True.
minimum at least across. Then that's it. You just have to determine the pain points. I think that's what best I could add.
All right, thanks, Anthony. Another question would be, we all know that we have different phases of learning. How can we ensure that our employees will learn and adjust to the new tools, given that the technology is evolving rapidly? This is one of the reasons why some of the companies don't want to upgrade their tools.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think. Oh,
I'll go ahead, Arab.
okay, sure. So I think when it comes to data, like I bet everyone has a different learning curve, like exactly. And it shouldn't be shunned upon that we all have different ways of learning and understanding the data. So some people can be visual learners, some people actually need to practice it on the spot, or some people want to read it, or they just want to read up on it so that they can learn it. So everyone has a different way of learning. But I think a way that Carousel was able to adjust to the different learning tools was getting a champion of a tool, getting a team to champion it, and getting them to also teach everyone. So we always have like learning sessions on how to understand the data, how to pull it, and even like executional day-to-day things that anyone can ask in a channel, and they're going to be helping you out. So I think it's just really making data approachable, because I feel like sometimes people don't want to understand data because it's scary that they can't understand it, or it's only for top line management and all. But I feel like data is actually your friend, and it's not something that you can easily learn. It's just that you need a team. I think it's really the culture, I would say, that you're trying to build in your team, of trying to understand that you can ask any question. It doesn't matter if it's a stupid question or if it's a super advanced question. I think we try to open that culture so that it's easier for people to learn also, and then the tools won't be so shunned upon, or it won't be like as extreme, like the adoption won't be as extreme. So yeah, I think that's really how we try to do it in Carousel, just making learning more open and having a culture of like just asking a lot of questions no matter what they are.
Yes, thanks, Rafa. You'd be amazed. A lot of people actually wants to learn more now because they know that, technology is really evolving. It's changing very fast. Anything you want to add on? Yes, Anthony?
Yeah, actually, I'll add to that. In terms of learning, etc., of course, definitely you don't want to make it intimidating. That's why part of the process when selecting a tool is we want to find out which one has the better customer service, which one is easiest to use. I think perspective also, we still need to get feedback from, because the one of the reasons they also are not open to changes is because what they've been doing has been working for X number of years. And us going to marketing technology and digital transformation, it's more of future proofing. It could be a risk, if some way say, but it's essentially you reap its values moving forward. It's a long term investment for most companies. And say for Smarter Globe, I think years back Globe wasn't number one. They made an investment in terms of infrastructure, which does not translate into revenue. It translates more in cost and everything. But as you can see, moving forward to that, they're basically number one today, and the infrastructure that they invested in years back pretty much made it in terms of their availability for data and the fiber technology, etc. All the employees actually put in very much value in terms of feedback, not just from the customer level. And it ties up to the whole customer experience excellence, which is not just for the customer, but even your employees need to embody that. Like as was what Rafa mentioned earlier, it's culture driven, and that's why it's really ideal to be driven from top down. So yeah.
Thanks, Anthony. Yes, Steph?
Yeah, just to add to that, I think I would agree with having the culture in place and then the top-down approach. I think important also for before onboarding the tools is actually getting your team comfortable with handling data. You know, getting that curious mindset in place first, encouraging them to ask the questions. And it actually usually starts, the empowerment of getting those tools on board starts from the top and downwards. Your top management would be asking you the questions according to your group on what matters most to you. If it's revenue based, ask, well, how are we tracking it? How are we sustaining it? How are we pushing it? How are we retaining our customers? Then that's when you get your tools, the basic tools in place already. Then once you get that green light, get the basic tools first. I mean, there's this syndrome that you have to avoid, this shiny object syndrome, that as long as there's a new tool around, you're just gonna hop on it and get it for your company. That's something that you have to avoid. I would recommend personally that you get your basic tools first in place and master that first. Get your listening software, get your tracking software in place, get your analytics, get your conversion trackers, and then get your automation, your publishing softwares in place as well. Then after that, that's when you upgrade or go for another products. Get those basics first, and then you'll be good to go.
Yes, get those basics first and understand your customer and all the touch points that you would want to reach them. Okay, so where there are a lot of things we learn about marketing technology today, and since we're running out of time, I would like to ask our dear panelists to give their advice to businesses on starting their MarTech journey. Just to
Okay.
wrap up because time flies. And would you like to start, Steph?
Yeah, would love to. I'll just make this quick. But for this one, the key takeaway here is really putting your customer at the center of everything. Customer-centric approach. We hear that a lot nowadays, but it's really true. No matter whether it's a digital tool or a traditional one, you have to put your customer at the center of your product and your business. Then you understand, make your business or your buyer personas, flesh them out, understand how they talk, how they speak, how they dress up, where they go during the weekends, what they watch. All of those behaviors will give you telltale signs on how you're going to push your products on any and every channel. So after you answer those basic questions, that's when you go out in the market and shop for tools. But I would really recommend that you get the basic tools first that I mentioned earlier. Get those in place first. Get your team ready and on board, and have them excited and curious to play with this data. There's a lot and fun things you'd find out with those data. Then afterwards, be comfortable with change, because all of those tools will you know point you into the different directions. I mean, your initial strategy may not work, so it's time that you just adopt a new one, and that's where your tools come into play. They're supposed to help you pivot as fast as you can. So there, hope that helps.
Yeah, and I think for me, exactly, like do what's best for your customers and really build a strong team and culture that's data driven. I think data is a language that we can all understand. It's really for anyone who's open to understanding it. And as long as you have a strong team and someone who can help you understand the data, then you're good to go. I think as long as you have that mindset that you're willing to understand and you're willing to see how things like kind of funnel together and really doing what's best for your customers, then that's a really good start into having a good marketing tech stack. So as long as you have those elements, you're good to go.
Okay. I mean, marketing technology for some people or for us could be complicated enough. So I'll try to not overcomplicate it, but that's one tip, definitely. Don't overcomplicate it. Maybe create a board, or use the top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, the funnel view, and identify the tools that you want in place. And if you see a level of redundancy there, remove it. You don't need all those tools anyway. And then next is using that kind of framework right there. You just need, at this point, like what Steph mentioned, you just need the basics in. Find out where the pain points are and how it stacks up. Think of it like if you guys are familiar with Jenga, so think of it that way. There's a marketing strategy, there's your technology, it has to tie up. If you're missing a block, beneath the foundation, it's really going to be shaky. So basically, your foundation would be what could be your data. If you're focused on targeted campaigns, it could be your e-commerce site. If all your top of the funnel campaigns are linked to your are driving to your e-commerce website, so you have to make sure that the journey there is pretty customer proof. But you have to just look at all of these basic foundations of where your objective is, and don't overcomplicate the stacking, because it's not it shouldn't be. It's supposed to make life easy for everyone. So if you just need basically 5-10 tools right there, that's it. You don't have to pile yourself up with 5 email marketing tools, because essentially they do the same thing. So it's that. That's probably my tip.
Thank you. So I would now like to turn you over to Kathleen of Seamless Philippines.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much, Mags, for moderating this session. And of course, thank you, Anthony, Steph, and Rafa, for sharing your experience and your knowledge to our audience. So for our audience, please do stay tuned. We've got Rafa from Carousel who has prepared something for us. She's going to deliver a presentation titled Pay to Play, the Importance of Proving Organic Success on Social. Thank you, everyone.